and welcome to the Women's Network. I'm Elke and I am your host. I want to invite you to a terrific show. We have a wonderful and beautiful guest. So for those of you who are not quite settled, please settle down and don't even think of leaving for about 30 minutes because you will be in for a great surprise. Like I said, this is going to be a wonderful show. We are stepping into the world of entertainment. More or less, we want to go to the world of jazz. And with me, as I said, I have a wonderful guest. So without much further ado, let's welcome the star of our show, Miss Carmen Lundy.
Lucky me, I'm in love again. Ooh, in love again. I never dreamed of such a thrill. I never knew that I could feel the way I feel. Ooh, in love again. Spring has sprung, it's a new day. The wings of love have flown my way, and I'm in love again. Singing melodies, they speak the words, I love you to me. From the moment I looked into your eyes, I knew that I was in trouble then. I'm in love again. I feel so young like the month of May. The winds of spring have blown my way, and I'm in love. But now I know it's all because of you and your smile. My head is way up above the clouds, so high, high, so high, so high. Oh
Oh, yes. Well, that was absolutely terrific. So I don't want to hold you in any more suspense. And here she is, Carmen. So nice to have you here. This was absolutely great. I'm still jumping. It sort of reminds me of my days then. Carmen, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you.
God, how did you get started?
Wow. No, okay, that's a mouthful of a question. Let's see.
I know,
I got started as a youngster, tinkling my, picking out songs on the piano, teaching myself how to play the piano a little. And that was because my mother sang so well. She sang so great that as a child I thought if I could only get good enough to sing with her. So my whole objective for my entire childhood was to get so good that my mother would say, come and join our choir, which never happened. So I guess I'm still trying to get good enough to be in her choir. Right now she's somewhere in the behind the pearly gates still singing beautifully. So I guess I'm just so lucky that I was inspired to and supported by my mom, and she got me those piano lessons that I really desperately needed. And the rest has just been a matter of hit and miss, and doing it in high school, doing it, from the very earliest days.
Well, on my notes, I have you actually went for more into the classical direction.
Well,
opera
yes, but that was not necessarily, it's funny how you decide, oh, I'm going to be a singer when I grow up, but you have no idea what's involved and all the different things that it takes to really do well. And somewhere along the way, after getting into college, there were all these choices. Well, you could be a teacher if you want, or you can perform. If you want to perform, you have to do opera. That's it. That's all you get to do, teach or opera. So I chose opera. And in the course of doing the opera is when I learned about the jazz department at my school. And I was allowed to stay in the opera and try my hand at the jazz at the same time, which was the best of both worlds. And I couldn't have asked for a better plan.
Well, anyway, that was from then to now, you have really created something. I mean, you have been written up in almost every music magazine and other publications with such wonderful flowing words. I mean, it's like flowery to read about you. You've been all over the world, and you have probably sung every song that you can think of. Now, I myself, I grew up with jazz. Being from Europe, we had our jazz cellars, and being, I hate to say teenagers because I don't think we really were teenagers, going at an early age, going to these jazz clubs and dancing to jazz. It was wonderful. And to hear you talk about your growing up and so on, I mean, it just brings back memory. But tell me a little bit about what you're doing now. What's your...
Well, I've kind of grown into this discovery, actually. Somewhere along the way, when I decided that jazz was certainly the music I wanted to pursue, I went about learning every song, everything that had anything to do with jazz history. I learned that song, I sang that song, and sometimes, if I was lucky, I recorded it. And then something happened that had to do with looking at the great singers, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Carmen McRae, Shirley Horn, Nancy Wilson, listening to these great artists, including Barbra Streisand, I might add, and the woman from, just
Diane
thinking of
Carl,
Diane Carroll, but I was just thinking of
Diana Carl?
Oh, no, not necessarily, because I'm talking of the generation preceding me.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of all these great artists and what they've done and the contribution. I think, well, gee, Ella Fitzgerald, Tisca the Tasket, Billie Holiday, God Bless the Child. Barbra Streisand, People, The Way We Were. And I'm thinking, well, all these great artists brought new songs to the world. And I was thinking, well, gee, every song I was doing has been brought by some other singer and sung a lot better. And then I discovered that what I was looking for was my own contribution to this history of jazz voice. And through this discovery, I felt more and more compelled to find music and to sing songs that are new, that are part of this time that I come from.
Exactly.
And that, so that there was a link from the future, the past,
Right.
and that the present was somehow going to send me off in the direction of the
That you
future
wanted to.
of jazz vocal singing. So as a result, the composition. Now I find myself singing all these new songs, all this original music. Sometimes it's been written for me. More often than not, I've been the composer. So the composition, the composer in me started to develop and evolve. And here, from the music we're playing for you today and the music we're about to do very soon here in Los Angeles has a lot to do with original music.
More or less, you have written the music, you have composed it. Oh God, I must give you a lot of credit. I mean, you are so multi-talented. Not just your voice, first of all, is exquisite.
Thank you.
I love your voice. I mean, when I first got your press package and listened to some of your songs, it was just beautiful. I kind of kept it in the background of doing my computer. But anyway.
Very cool, very cool.
It was just beautiful. So now I understand that your last album, you've almost composed every song.
That is a fact.
That
is indeed the truth. That's the case. The last album is my first live recording. I have several recordings that you can certainly find, and if you kind of follow the number that's going to show up at the bottom of your screen, I'm sure you'll be able to get a lot more information about me after the show. So just pay attention to the number that you'll see on the screen. But yeah, there's a lot of music that I've written over the years, but it was really hard to find enough music to put into 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because I've written over 40 songs, or published for it. I think I've written a lot more.
Right, and I understand you have something like 7 albums out.
Yes, that's true.
Mixed, naturally.
Yes, yeah. And in those albums, for the most part, I'm singing some standards and some what I'll call new standards, which may indeed become additions to the Great American Songbook. We'll see. Time will tell.
Carmen, I want to talk to my audience for just a moment. I'm here with Carmen Lundy, jazz singer extraordinaire. You don't want to miss her, so don't walk away, because we are in for a great treat with more of her original songs composed by Carmen. She sings anything you want to listen to. I mean, wonderful, velvety voice, and I want you to hear a few more clips. And if you want to know more about Carmen, please call the number at the end of the credits and get in touch with me, and I will tell you all about her. And she can be seen all over Los Angeles and from coast to coast and then some. Carmen, you've been everywhere. We've been to Europe. How does the jazz scene compare in on other continents to our jazz music? Because we always think America is jazz. It has a long history. It's coming from the olden days and then maybe fizzled out. But I think jazz is alive and well. And
well, it's a good question you're asking, and I'm going to answer that. I'll try to be brief and kind of to the point, because it's important that I tell the audience that the music and the history of jazz is, I sometimes feel that the identity, it can be confusing to the general public. It's because we have this history that dates back to the turn of the late 1800s is when this music really began to become what it is today. So we're looking at the kind of music that you can't just put in a nutshell and say, oh, well, that's that sound that's big band, oh, or that's that sound that's swing, or that's that sound that my grandparents love. Jazz is a music that's very much a part of our life today, as it always has been in the development of American culture. And you, being European, I think your association, or how you identify the American lifestyle, probably had a lot to do with jazz music. A lot of learning the language English, I understand from people that they learned it through jazz tunes.
Well, you know, in my case, I listened to Ella, and all I learned like
beep-a-dee-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo. The scatting? Yeah. Well, you know, so that's another thing. Now, I'll say that. Now, that's another aspect of what I'm saying about jazz music that can be misleading to the public. Because as a vocalist, you might expect me to do that, but in that song you just heard, I didn't scat a note.
Okay, let's hear another song. And listen.
I'm not going to scan that either.
Listen to your wonderful music, because we're halfway through the show and we don't want to miss a note. So, if we are ready here in the studio, we're ready. She is one of the best, I would say. What a beautiful voice. But Carmen is not only a singer, composer, she's so multi-talented. She's also an artist. You've probably wondered why we have all this art around us. Carmen, tell us a little bit about the other side.
Well, I had stumbled into painting as the quiet side of my expression. You know, the music and the collaboration. This is the kind of thing that music is something you can't share the stage by yourself. I mean, there's no such thing. And people who do that yearn to be in a dialogue of some kind. I think it's eventually. So the artwork is just a quiet form of my expression, and this is just a small representation of what I've done. The first one is over here to your right is called Blue Woman, which I painted just from my imagination, really, and from a state of mind that I was in after my mother passed away. And I just saw myself kind of with very few things left to hold on to, and they're all in this picture, the things that somehow had an aesthetic value to me at that time. And then from that, I wanted to paint this image, Woman Seeking Higher Ground, because that was just where I was at that point. So there are different stages of my artwork, this being the last, where I wanted so much to represent the mother and child image, something I've always been fascinated by with other artists, the way they render that. So here to my left is a rendering of the connection and the bonding between the caregiver and the one that gives the love back, you know, that kind of an energy, hopefully that you can experience in that. So yeah, and it's because I traveled the world and visited so many great museums and couldn't afford or certainly realistically have those things in my possession. So I found a way to express myself quietly and achieve some kind of a sense of a visual artistic satisfaction, I guess.
Well, I think we all have to have other outlets to kind of channel ourselves, to settle ourselves.
Yeah.
And you have more than that. You're also an actress. Tell me a little bit about the acting. How does that fit in? But then on the other hand,
well, you know,
singing.
I guess the acting is well, you know, when you're looking to really master your craft, it requires exploring all kinds of aspects of creativity and artistic expression, basically. And so I took acting lessons. It was interesting to me to study acting, to study a little dance. And through the acting, I actually got to learn a lot about jazz singers because I played the role of Billie Holiday in an off-Broadway show many, many years ago. And then I did Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Lady, so I learned a lot about his music during that European tour. And then I moved to Los Angeles and, of all things, booked a CBS pilot. I don't know if I could say I said it. And I did this pilot, which is why I'm here in Los Angeles. So I'm so glad, I must say, that I found out how important singing and to do my jazz and to do my jazz vocal and composing. I found out how important that is to me when I got that acting part, because I realized that I came here to say that this is indeed what I want to say to the public and do, is my singing. And I get to travel the world.
Well, I tell you, Carmen, you are so multi-talented, and I want to hear another song. So I'm waiting for the engineers to give us the cue and hear some more of your beautiful voice. In the meantime, don't forget to call us, because this lady is hot, and she can be seen just about anywhere and everywhere. So call me.
Where'd it go? How we ever lose the feeling? What's wrong? I never thought that you'd believe it. I gave you all my love, and now you break my heart. You're still my everything, even though we've grown apart. If you should change your mind and find that you are still in love with me, I'll give you more, much more love than you'll ever need. Please hear my plea.
Carmen, you are electrifying. I can't wait to see you. What's happening? Where will you be?
I'm preparing for a huge concert with a lot of the musicians you're seeing here, coming up very soon at the John Anson Ford Amphitheater in September. Actually, not very long from there. I guess the 10th, perhaps, I think is the date. And we are just so geared up for this concert with some of the biggest names in jazz, including Regina Carter, Terry Lynn Carrington. I mean, the young, the budding talent, Robert Glasper, my brother Curtis Lundy on bass, Bob Hurst, Phil Upchurch, the great guitarist. You see him here in this footage. We've got 15 great musicians, including a harpist. I mean, we really are bringing forth, I would say, volume 2 of all of this great new original music and jazz that's marking time and the beginning of the 21st century. And I'm so excited to be in production with Elizabeth Uwe, who has made this whole thing possible. And I'm just so thrilled.
Carmen, I think you are terrific, and I can't wait to hear you. I see you right now, and you just ooze some enthusiasm, and I want to see it on stage. So for those of you, for my viewers, please don't miss her, because from what I saw on the few clips that we have, you've got to love this woman. So call the number at the end of the credits and get in touch with me, and I'll tell you all about it. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And Carmen, I want to thank you, and please come back. You've got to liven up our show a little bit.
Okay?
So thank you so much. Come back and watch us.
What happened to the kiss, the hug? I feel so all alone now that you've gone away. I know deep in my heart that you will return someday.